Hey guys, this is Ash and you're watching WriterGAsh. So today I'm going to be doing my November and December wrap-up. The reason I didn't do November wrap-up was not because I forgot about it, though that me being me, entirely possible, but I only read one book in November and it felt kind of useless to do a wrap-up talking about one book. A book that wouldn't even make it onto my favorite of the year list. So I thought I'd merge it with December with great hopes that since I had no classes, I'd be able to read. And I did. I read 2 books in December. So here is a tiny wrap up for my end of the year. So in November, the book I read was Death by Laura Thalassa. And it's a great read, but it's just not a great read for me. And I didn't want to make a video to just say that because it was also I have never actually read the other 3 books. I've read them, but I didn't read them. I normally don't even count them as books I've read because I skim read them. And with the 4th one, that's what I expected to do. But like, you know, when you're caught in a train wreck, again, that is my personal perspective, not what I'm calling this book, but it wasn't for me. So for me it was like, what the fuck? And then like flipping through it, like reading it, but not, I wish I could say I didn't actually read it, but I did. And it wasn't a bad book. I didn't give it like a 1 star. I gave it a 3. It was like average. It just wasn't for me. Like I said, I keep saying that. Moving on to a book that was for me. So that was my November 1 book. Moving on to December, a book that was definitely for me. Our Violin Ends. I love Chloe Gong's world. Also, I did this. I don't know if you can see, but it's like a shimmery metallic red. I wanted it to match these Violin Delights. If you haven't seen the photos, go check out my Instagram. It's got all of the pics. But yeah, so I tried to match them. And I've got the Outgrade edition of these Violin Delights up there. There it is. And then I've got this. But with Our Violin Ends, the front only had an impression of this dragon instead of it being like printed on or painted on. So I took the biggest risk with books I've ever taken and I painted on this beautiful, magnificent gold dragon. And I am honestly in love with how this book turned out. I'm in love with how this duet looks together. And I'm in love with this series. This is one of my favorite books of the year. I'm pretty damn sure it made it to maybe even near top of my list. Anyway, so this book was absolutely, absolutely fantastic. I loved every second of it and I recommend it. So these Violin Delights and Our Violin Ends are a duology, and I love that the duology is like, what's the word? Advertised as a duet. It just sounds great. And the books follow Roma and Juliet, the heirs to rival gangs in 1920 Shanghai. And it follows them as they try to work together, despite being in separate gangs, to solve a pandemic-ish in 1920s Shanghai, which like eerily like our time, there is a fucking pandemic in every 20s. But it's a fantastic read. I 100% recommend it. And it is the only Romeo and Juliet based book that I have ever enjoyed. It's also the only one I've read, but that's because I fucking hate Romeo and Juliet. But like this sounded too amazing to not. But I loved seeing like the gang dynamics in this book, like the whole Chinese versus the foreign concept and like how these like gangs worked. And I'm not sure how much of it is based on like real life, but it just was a fantastic read and it was so much fun. And I recommend Chloe Gong's writing. I've heard she's writing a new series and I am dying for it to come out because she is a fantastic writer and she's such a young writer. I mean, go read her work. She is amazing. That's all. Okay, the last book I read this month is Love and Other Disasters. It is about two people on a cooking show, and one of the characters is non-binary, the other character is a female going through a divorce, and it's just their story, and it's just a fun contemporary. It was one of the arcs I got from NetGalley, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great way to end the year on a light note, and it was a fun read. Anyway, so another thing I want to put out there is I'm participating in this thing called Caravalathon, if I'm saying it right. It's about Caravalathon, and it is the most exciting thing. They're basically creating a Caraval for us to participate in using a readathon, and I'm gonna do a full video on my picks for books and my strategy and what I'm planning on doing for the month of January and for Caravalathon. So stay tuned for that.